To watch these important lessons, subscribe to DP Education's YouTube channel right now. Click on the bell icon to stay updated on the latest lessons. Sri Lanka's largest free online school, DP Education.
Right, my dear children. Now, in the earlier chapters, we discussed all the theoretical parts related to the movements and the support of the organism. Listen. So, within this chapter, we'll be discussing about the questions related to the textbook and also several extra questions which I have prepared for you guys. Okay. So, let's head on to see the questions that is given in your textbook first. So, you have to select the correct answer here. The appendages used by the snail for locomotion is, you know that for the locomotion of a snail, there are no certain appendages, special appendages. However, my dear children, we discussed that snail is going to locomote by using the special structure called the muscular foot. So, the correct answer would be muscular foot. Next one. What helps to maintain rigidity of non-woody plants? So, non-woody plants, they are asking about the non-woody plants. So, if you take a non-woody plant, my dear children, in a non-woody plant, okay, when you take a non-woody plant is mainly keeping its rigidity by using the water or with the help of water. So, let's go for the answer that has water. Yes, in here you can observe water. So, water would be the answer, right? Water. Next one. Human movements need only the bones. Incorrect. Will be needing not only bones, right? Will be needing muscles as well. So, muscles and bones both are important. Next one, only the muscles. Once again, incorrect. Both bones and muscles are, now this should be our answer. Both bones and muscles are important, right? Both bones and muscles are important for the locomotion or for the movements of human being. Next one. The leaves of mimosa plant show sleeping movement when touched. So, it is given when touched. So, the stimulus is touching. So, when the stimulus is touching, we know that the mimosa plant is going to show or exhibit the sleeping movement. So, this is referred as a haptonastic movement. Haptonastic movement. So, haptonastic movement, the first answer is correct. Haptonastic movement. Nyctinastic movement is incorrect, same as the photonastic and also the positive geotrophic. So, it is a nastic movement. So, trophic movement is terribly incorrect. Okay. So, these are the answers for the first 4 questions, my dear children. So, let's head on to see the next question. Growth of the stem towards the light. Growth of the stem towards the light. Now, if it is going to happen towards the light, then it is a positive one. It's a positive trophic movement. So, as this refers to light, it is a positive phototrophic movement. So, positive phototrophic movement. Positive phototrophic movement. Growth of the stem towards the light is a positive phototrophic movement. Question number 6. A trophic movement is a movement with a response directed towards the direction of the stimulus. Not only towards, but also away from the direction is correct. Right? Away from the direction of the stimulus is also correct. Towards and away, both the things are correct. We discussed this thing. So, that's how the positive trophic movements and the negative trophic movements would come. Then the next one. Movement with a response directed opposite direction of the stimulus. Once again incorrect. Not only to the opposite direction, but also to the same direction that will happen. Okay. So, like I said, it can be affected for the same direction and also for the opposite direction. So, both the things are correct. Next one. Movement with a response independent of the direction of the stimulus. Totally incorrect. If it is independent, then it is not a trophic movement. Then it should be a nastic movement, my dear children. If it is independent from the direction of the stimulus, then it is a nastic movement, not a trophic movement. Okay, so here the question is asking about the trophic movement. Then the final one. Movement with a response directed towards or opposite to the stimulus. So that's the answer. Towards the direction or to the opposite direction, right? If the response is going to occur towards or opposite to the stimulus, then it is referred as a what? A trophic movement. A trophic movement. If it is going to occur to the same direction of the stimulus, then it is a positive trophic movement. If it is going to occur to the opposite direction of the stimulus, then it is a negative trophic movement. The figure shows the demonstration of. So here you can observe several plantlets. So these plantlets, as you can see, the shoot of the plantlets are growing towards the light, my dear children. Shoot of the plantlets, right, growing towards the light. It's very simple to see this thing, right? The shoots are growing towards the light. It's also been bent. So there is a window pane over here. By that way, we can conclude that the light is going to come from that particular direction, as it is the window pane, right? As we can observe a window pane over here. So to the direction of the light, we can observe that the shoot of the stem is going to grow. Right? Shoot of the stem is going to grow towards the direction of the light. So this is related to photo or light. So to the direction it's going to occur. So it is a positive phototrophic movement. Positive phototrophic movement. Let's see. Positive geotrophic movement, incorrect. Positive phototrophic movement, that would be our answer. Hypertrophic, incorrect. Hydrotrophic, incorrect. Haptonastic, once again incorrect. Okay, so these are the answers for the question number 5, 6 and 7, my dear children. Right? Okay then, so let's move on to observe the next question. Following figures show some activities and their observations used to demonstrate the plant movements. Write the name of the movement demonstrated in each activity. So you have to write down the movement demonstrated in each activity. So this is a mimosa leaf before and after touching. Here you can see the finger very well. So due to a touch, a sleeping movement is exhibited. This is referred as a nastic movement, especially due to a touch. Especially due to a touch, if a nastic movement is going to show by a certain plant, then this is referred as a haptonastic movement. So you can write the answer haptonastic movement. First one, haptonastic movement. Number 2. In the second figure, you can observe the same thing which we discussed in the earlier case. Shoot of the stem bending towards the sunlight. Positive phototrophic movement. Positive phototrophic movement. Positive right? Positive phototrophic movement. Positive phototrophic movement. Here, the tendrils are growing towards a support. This is called as a positive thigmotrophic movement. Positive thigmotrophic movement. Positive thigmotrophic movement. Here, within this one, you can see that clearly stem of the plant or the shoot of the plant growing away from the soil. So this is a negative, right? Negative geotrophic movement. Negative geotrophic movement. Negative geotrophic movement. Right. So these are the answers, my dear children. Number 1, Photonastic movement. Number 2, B, positive phototrophic movement. Number 3 here, positive thigmotrophic movement. Then finally, negative geotrophic movement, as the stem is always growing away from the soil. Okay. So these are the answers for the question. Right, my dear children. So these are the answers for the question given in your textbook. Right. So now let's head on to observe several other types of questions, extra questions, which are related with the lesson. Okay. Right. So here also you are given with the first type of question. You have to choose the most accurate answer. A change that occurs in external environment is called. A change that occurs within the external environment, my dear children. Change that occurs within the external environment. So this particular change is referred as a stimulus. Very simple, it is called as a stimulus. Next one. Change in the location of whole body or a part is called. Change in the location of whole body or else a part. So this is very simple, my dear children. Change in the whole body or else a part can be referred as a movement. 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 Then the next question. Hair-like cellular organelles that help for locomotion in some microorganisms. Hair-like cellular organelles that help for locomotion in some microorganisms. So these are hair-like structures. Hair-like structures are observed within the paramecium. So these structures are specially called as cilia. Cilia. These structures are specially called as cilia, my dear children. Okay, right. Thread or arm-like cellular organelles that help for locomotion in some microorganisms. Thread-like structure or else an arm-like structure. So thread-like or else an arm-like structure is clearly visible in microorganisms or in the type of microorganisms like Chlamydomonas and Euglena. So Euglena contains a thread or arm-like cellular organelle which is called as the flagella. Flagella. So flagella is the answer. Flagella. Then the next one. Some microorganisms use false legs for locomotion. These are called So false legs or false feet used by amoeba is referred as pseudopodia, my dear children. Pseudopodia. So these are the three main types of organelles, right, that can be observed within single-celled organisms, single-celled microorganisms. Okay, flagella, pseudopodia and cilia. Okay, hair-like structures are cilia, false feet are pseudopodia, then thread-like structure is the flagella. So the answer would be pseudopodia. Next one, organism that use limbs for locomotion. Organism that use limbs for locomotion. Human, leech, snail, cobra. So my dear children, we know that if you take leech, snail and cobra, all of these organisms do not have structures. Do not have special structures or appendages for locomotion. We know that these organisms, so these animals like leech, snail and cobra, they do not have special structures for locomotion, or else these things are referred as appendages. So these organisms or these animals, they do not have special appendages for locomotion. So our answer would be quite simple. Our answer is human. We have appendages, arms and legs. Arms and legs helps for our motion and also movements and also for the locomotion as well, right? So the correct answer would be human. Human is the organism that has the limbs or that use limbs for the locomotion. So the limbs which are used by human, specially referred as legs. Then the next one. Most common body part that used by vertebrates for locomotion. Most common body part that used by vertebrates for locomotion. So we know that, and it is very simple. Vertebrates always using muscles and bones for the locomotion, my dear children. So muscles and bones, both of these muscles and bones are being utilized for the locomotion of organisms, especially chordates or else vertebrates, muscles and bones. Next one, not a feature of muscles, not a feature of muscles. They are asking not a feature. So the first one, cells in a muscle are arranged as fibers. Correct, right? Cells in a muscle are arranged as fibers. So it is correct, right? They are elongated cells. So these cells are referred as fibers. It is correct, no problem. Muscle cell has the ability to shorten. Muscle cell has the ability to shorten. Shorten means contract. So it is correct, no problem. Muscle cell has the ability to contract. No problem, it's correct. Muscle cell has the ability to relax. Once again, correct. No problem. It has the ability to relax. Correct. Then the incorrect one should be the fourth one. We'll see. When muscles are relaxed or contracted, they can't reach the original position again. That's incorrect, my dear children. If muscles can't relocate or if muscles can't go to the original position once again, then we won't be able to do like this. Then we will be able to do only this. That is it. We won't be able to stretch it down as it is not moving to the original position. So when we are moving like this, okay, when we are moving like this, you know that the bicep muscle, right, bicep muscle is going to contract. Then when we are moving like this, the bicep muscle is going to move to the original position, right? So my dear children, it's important to once again go to that original position. The relevant muscle should travel once again to the original position, right? If you want to move your arms or legs here and there like this, okay? So this is not a special feature that can be observed within muscles. Muscles can move to the original position after contraction or relaxation, right? Then we will move on to the next question. When bicep muscle is contracted, so bicep muscle is located in here. When bicep muscle is contracted, what will happen? Bicep muscle contracting. See, when bicep muscle is contracted, your arm bends and lift up. So bend and lift up. Here you can observe the answer within C. It bend and lift up. Okay. When bicep muscle is contracted, the hands will bend and it will lift up, my dear children. Okay. Then the next one. Most common body part that used by invertebrates for locomotion. So most common body part used by the invertebrate is their muscles, right? Muscles. So invertebrates use muscles for their locomotion or for their movements. So muscles are very important for the movements of organisms, especially for the invertebrates, my dear children. As invertebrates do not have any bones, they use muscle movements for their locomotion or for their movements. So the correct answer would be muscles. Yes, the second one has the muscles. Muscles is the correct answer, right? Muscles. Right then, the next question. Blank helps to keep non-woody plants erect. Blank helps to keep non-woody plants erect. So non-woody plants can be kept erect by using a certain type of a special type of a substance. This is not, actually it can be taken as a chemical substance, but however, this is a simple substance. This substance is water. You know that when you take the herbaceous plants or else, right, if you take non-woody plants are also called as herbaceous plants. Okay, herbaceous plants. So if you take herbaceous plants like balsam, right, balsam, the stem of the balsam plant can be kept rigid when water is in it. That's why during the sunny days, the balsam plant is going to bend down, because during sunny days, my dear children, the transpiration will get increased and less amount of water will be retained within the stem. Therefore, right, what will happen? The stem of the plant, the stem of the balsam plant will bend down. Okay. So, water is the correct answer. Water is the substance which helps to keep non-woody plant erect. A good example for a non-woody plant. Balsam is not given. However, if you eliminate woody plants out of the given answers, the remaining one should be the non-woody plant. We know that jack is a woody plant. Also, we know that mango is a woody plant. And at least from televisions, we have observed apple plants or apple trees, which is a woody plant. So therefore, the remaining answer, the bryophyllum plant, should be the non-woody plant. In simple, bryophyllum means akkapana, right? Bryophyllum, right? So these plants are growing like, you know, when you take a stone or else a large rock, then these plants are growing. it has the special ability to reproduce by leaves. Leaves are somewhat thicker and it has a very weak stem. Okay, it has a very weak stem and it is also a non-woody plant. Bryophyllum. Okay, bryophyllum. Next one. A non-woody plant is also called as dicot plant. Incorrect. Dicot plant means it has two cotyledons or it has two seed lobes. If it has two seed lobes, then it is called as a dicot plant. So, non-woody plant is not called as a dicot plant or else a monocot plant. It's not called as a monocot plant as well, right? Monocot plants mean it contains only one seed lobe. It's not a monocot plant. Herbaceous plant. Now that's our answer in the earlier question when we are discussing about the non-woody plants. I told you that non-woody plants are also referred as herbaceous plants, right? Next one. When tricep muscle is contracted, the hands will. Tricep muscle is located. I told you that forward in our forearm we can observe within this surface, right? We can observe the bicep muscle within this surface, right? The tricep muscle is located below, like in this area. Now you contract and see what's going to happen. See, if the arm is like this, when contracting tricep, see, contracting means reduction of length. So when the length is getting reduced, our arm is getting stretched. So, stretched is the correct answer. Stretch. So, when tricep muscle is contracted, the hands will stretch. Hands will stretch. Then the next one, question number 15. Chemical substance that helps to keep woody plants erect. So, a chemical substance that helps to keep woody plants erect. So, you know that there are two chemical substances which helps to keep woody plants erect. Those two chemical substances are cellulose and the other one is lignin. So, cellulose is given here. So, our answer would be cellulose. Cellulose is the answer. Cellulose fibers, I think you can remember we discussed about the cellulose fibers when we are discussing about the rigidity of woody plants, right? Question number 16. Direction of the movements are specific. Direction of the movements are specific. Specific means identical, not more, it's not depending on any other. So, direction of the movements are specific in positive trophic movements, negative trophic movements, locomotion, nastic movements. So, these things are regarding the movements, so we can ignore the locomotion. These two are showing or these two are regarding trophic movements. So, we know that there is a direct influence between the stimulus, direction of the stimulus and the direction of the respond. Okay, there's a direct relationship between or there's a direct influence between the direction of the stimulus and as well as the direction of respond within a trophic movement. So they are asking about a movement that has a specific direction. So direction of the movements are specific only in nastic movements, my dear children, because these trophic movements are going to depend. Trophic movements are going to depend on the direction of the stimulus. It can be to the direction, to the same direction, or it can be away from the direction of the stimulus. So therefore, our correct answer would be nastic movements. So in nastic movements, my dear children, the direction of the movements are specific or same, identical. Right then. Blank occur due to the effect of growth substances. So it's very simple, my dear children. We know that due to the effect of growth substances, a part of a plant is going to grow. If you take the apex of the plant is growing mainly because of the growth substances, and always we know that the apex of the plant is going to grow towards the light. So growing towards the light is called as a positive phototrophic movement. So it is a trophic movement. So growth substances are getting involved during trophic movements. Not in astic movements, but in trophic movements. Next question. There is a direct influence between stimulus and the direction of response in. Once again, they are talking about the trophic movements, right? So there is a direct influence between stimulus and the direction of response in trophic movements. However, let's go for the answers. Chemotrophic movement, correct. Because it is a trophic movement, no. So there is a direct influence between stimulus and the direction of response in a chemotrophic movement. Next one, negative trophic movements. Once again correct. No problem. If it is a trophic movement, no matter whether it is positive or negative, there is a direct influence between the stimulus and the direction of the response. So negative trophic movement is a correct answer. Next one. Hydrotrophic movement. Once again correct, right? Hydrotrophic movement. Once again correct. No problem. Trophic movements, no. So my dear children, all of these things are correct. No problem. All of these things are correct. All of these things are trophic movements. Therefore, all of these things are correct. No problem. Next question. Sleeping or shrinking of leaves when dark falls is called. Sleeping or shrinking of leaves when dark falls is called. Now, we know that it is a nastic movement, because no matter the direction of the response or direction of the stimulus, the response is always shrinking or showing the sleeping movement. So there is no relationship between the response and the stimulus. So therefore this is a nastic movement. When you take haptonastic movement, this is occurred because of touching. Haptonastic. Photonastic, it happens because of the light. Photonastic. Blooming of flowers is a good example for photonastic. Upon receiving light, what will happen? Flowers will bloom. Then the next one, nyctinastic movement. Of course, that should be the answer, nyctinastic movement. So within this nyctinastic movement, what will happen? When dark falls, the leaves will go into sleeping movement in nyctinastic movement. Positive dark movement, there is no certain movement like that. So the correct answer would be C, nyctinastic movement. Question number 20. Stem growing towards the light is called. Stem growing towards the light. If a stem is growing towards the light, then we know that if it is going towards the light, it should be a positive one. So all of the answers are positive. Light means photo. Find out photo. Here you can observe. Positive phototrophism. This is a trophic movement. So the answer would be positive phototrophism of positive phototrophic movement. Next one. A photonastic movement. Photonastic movement. Right? Photonastic movement. Now my dear children, photonastic movement means, so this nastic movement is going to depend on light. So like I said in the earlier case, good example for a photonastic movement is what? Blooming of flowers. Blooming of flowers. Sleeping movement during a shock. That is a seismonestic movement. Seismonestic movement. Roots growing towards the ground. Roots growing towards the ground. Ground means geo. So geotrophic movement. It is a geotrophic movement. As it is growing towards, it is a positive geotrophic movement. Positive geotrophic movement. Next one. Stem growing towards the light. So it's very simple. We know that it is a positive phototrophic movement. Stem growing towards the light. Light means photo. Then towards means positive. Positive phototrophic movement. Okay. Positive phototrophic movement. Next one. A positive geotrophic movement. Positive geotrophic movement. Roots growing away from light. Roots growing away from light. So here geotrophic movement, my dear children. So geotrophic means towards the ground. Geotrophic means towards the ground or away from the ground. However, ground should be involved. Soil should be involved. Okay. Then positive. Positive means towards. So towards the ground. Actually, this is not ground. The correct term should be gravity. The gravity. Okay. In simple, we can use the term ground. It's not a problem, right? Because you know that gravity is always acting towards the ground, no? Towards the core of the earth. Okay. So the core of the earth is towards the ground. So no problem. We can say that geo means in order to we need to keep these things in our mind, no? So simply we can refer this thing, geo means ground. It's not a problem. So geotrophic means towards or away to the ground. Positive geotrophic means here, especially towards the ground. Positive geotrophic means towards the ground. So roots growing away from light. Away, incorrect. It should be a negative. Roots moving towards a water source. Once again, incorrect. It's a hydrotropism. Roots growing towards the ground. Positive towards. Geotrophic, ground. So this is the one which reflects about the positive geotrophic movement. Positive geotrophic movement. Okay. So the positive geotrophic movement is roots growing towards the ground. Roots growing towards the ground. Next one. Not a trophic movement. It is not a trophic movement. Then, my dear children, definitely it should be an astic movement. Right? That means it should be a sleeping movement in simple. Sleeping movement during a shock. So first and foremost answer is correct. That is the one which is not a trophic movement. So if it is not a trophic movement, definitely it should be an astic movement. So astic movement means mainly they are showing sleeping movements, my dear children. So let's see the other answers as well. Roots moving towards the water source. A trophic movement. Positive hydrotrophism, right? Positive hydrotrophism. Next one. Apex of a plant growing towards the light. Once again, it is a positive one because towards the light, no? So this is a positive phototrophism. Photo means light. So positive phototrophic movement. Next one. Roots moving towards the water source. Once again, the same thing is given, right? So it is very simple to select the answer. So answer would be sleeping movement during a shock. Sleeping movement during a shock. Next one. Clinging of the coiling of tendrils in passion fruit with the support. Clinging of the coiling of tendrils in the passion fruit with the support. Now to the support, the coiling of tendrils happening towards the direction of the support. So it should be a positive one. All the things are positive. Geo means ground, not related. We are looking for a support. Photo means light, once again not related. Thigmotrophism. If you don't know about the thigmotrophism, go for the other one. Chemotrophism. Chemo means chemicals, no. So there are no chemicals in here. Looking for a support. So the correct answer would be, if you don't know the answer even, just look at the things which are given. We know that geo means the ground. We know that photo means the light. We know that chemo means chemo means the chemicals. So the remaining response, the remaining one, or the one which we can take as the answer for this one, should be the thigmotrophism. Sometimes, my dear children, if you don't know the answer, then just look at the questions, look at the answers which are given. Ignore the answers which cannot be a possibility. Then the remaining answer, definitely the possible answer. So if you don't know the answers for a given question, especially for an MCQ question, then neglect or remove the answers which cannot be an answer for the question given. Then the remaining one should be the answer. Okay. So this is how to find out answers for a question that you don't know, especially in MCQs. Right? Okay. Then the next one. Negative tropism always occurs. Negative tropism. Negative tropism means, my dear children, it's a trophic movement. However, it should be negative. So negative tropism means a negative trophic movement. Negative means not to the direction of the stimulus, but to the opposite of it. So negative tropism always occurs away from the stimulus. Away from the stimulus. The first and foremost answer is correct. If it is happening towards the stimulus, then it is referred as a positive trophic movement. If it is going to occur away from the stimulus, then it is referred as a positive trophic movement. Okay, positive trophic movement. So my dear children, the question is asking negative tropism. So negative tropism always occurs away from the stimulus. Away from the stimulus. Towards or away from the stimulus. That's not going to happen, right? That's the meaning of a trophic movement. Can be towards or away. Here, they are asking about negative trophic movements. Okay, negative trophic movements. Then the final one given, there is no certain direction. If there is no certain direction, then it can't be a trophic movement. Then it is a nastic movement, right? It's a nastic movement. So this is the answer for the 25th question. The answer would be, my dear children, away from the stimulus. Always remember, negative trophism is going to reflect, or negative trophism means it's going to occur away from the stimulus, away from the direction of the stimulus. That is why it is referred as the negative trophism. If it is a positive trophism, then it is towards. Okay, then it is towards. Then the next one. A movement occurs due to a Turgor change. So we discussed under the movements, under the part when we are discussing about the movements in a plant, we discussed that there are two main types of movements. There are two main types of movements. Number one, in here, there is a direct influence between the stimulus, and there is a direct influence between the stimulus and the particular response which is given. So if there is a direct relationship between the stimulus and the response given, these types of movements are referred as trophic movements. Trophic movements. Okay. And the second type, nestic movements. Nestic movements, my dear children, if you take the nestic movements, in nestic movements, there is no certain influence between the stimulus and the direction of the respond. Right? We say that always the respond which is given is independent from the direction of the stimulus. No matter whatever the stimulus which is given, always, my dear children, during a nestic change or during a nestic movement, always a same kind or else an identical movement can be observed. So these movements are referred as the nestic movements. No matter whatever the stimulus, right? No matter the direction of the stimulus, always an identical movement is given. So therefore, movement occurs due to a turgor change. Turgor change means here we are changing the pressure or else the position, right? We are not going to change the amount of growth substances. So growth substances are going to trigger those trophic movements mainly. Nestic movements are the ones which are going to occur mainly because of turgor or else pressure change. So answer for this question would be nestic movement. Nestic movement. Nestic movement is the answer. Movement occurs due to a turgor change. Next one. Not a positive trophic movement. Positive trophic movement. If it is positive, then always, my dear children, there should be this term. Which one? Towards. Towards. If it is positive, then there should be towards. So let's go for the away one. Roots growing towards. Then we can't take this thing. As it is a positive trophic movement, towards is there. We are selecting not a positive one. That should be a negative. That means it should be a negative one. So select the one which has away, not towards. Apex of the plant growing away from the ground. This is right. This is not a positive trophic movement. So apex of the plant growing away from the ground is not a positive trophic movement. Let's go for the other one. Apex of the plant growing towards. Once again you can observe towards. Here stem growing towards. So all of these answers contains towards. See, here towards can be observed, and here also towards can be observed, and here also towards can be observed. So all of these things are positive trophic movements as it contains towards. So you have to select the one which is not a trophic movement, which is not a positive trophic movement, then select the one which has away. So the answer B is the answer. Answer B is the correct one. Answer B is the correct one, my dear children. So I'm going to erase the other ones. So answer B, the apex of the plant growing away from the ground, that should be the correct answer. That is the correct answer. That's the one which is not a positive trophic movement, because it is a negative trophic movement. It is a negative trophic movement. Next one, not a nestic movement. Not a nestic movement. That means it should be a trophic movement. Blooming of flowers, nestic movement. Sunflower turning towards sunlight. We don't know about that thing. We'll go for the other ones. Shrinking flowers, leaves when dark falls. When dark falls, shrinking. That means sleep in movement, right? So it is also correct. Sleep in movement during a shock. Absolutely correct. Nestic movement. Sunflower turning towards the sunlight. It is not an astic movement, right? Because according to the direction of the sun, sunflower is going to change the position. That means, my dear children, stimulus means sunlight. Stimulus means the position of sun. Response given is the turn into the direction. Right? So this is a trophic movement. This is a trophic movement. Right then, the next question. 29. Shrinking leaves during a vibration is. Shrinking leaves during a vibration. So this is very simple, my dear children. We discussed these things like several times. Shrinking leaves during a vibration. So during a vibration or else a shock. During a shock, we can observe seismonastic movements. Seismonastic movements. Seismonastic movement. Right? Next one. Not a plant that shows nastic movements. Nelly, tamarind, sesbania, curry leaves. Nelly, tamarind and sesbania. Sesbania, I think you can remember, that's the one which is referred as the Kathurumurunga. So it's a plant that shows the nastic movements or the sleeping movements, my dear children. You know that Nelly and tamarind plant are also going to show, right? These plants are also going to show those nastic movements, especially they are showing nyctinastic movements. When dark falls, the leaves are going into sleeping movement. So my dear children, all of these three responses are correct for the plants which show nastic movements. So the plant which do not show a nastic movement is, not a plant that shows nastic movement is curry leaves. Curry leaves is a plant which do not show nastic movement. Then the next question. A movement that occurs due to influence of growth substances. A movement that occurs due to influence of growth substances. Growing of roots. Growing apex towards light. Growing fruits and flowers. All the above. A movement that occurs due to influence of growth substances. Growing roots. That occurs because of the, right? You know that growth of the roots are getting accelerated because of the cytokinins, right? Then growth of apex towards the light occurs mainly because of the auxins. Growing fruits and flowers, right? Once again because of the cytokinins, right? And also because of the gibberellins, right? So because all of these three answers, my dear children, mainly occurs because of the impact of growth substances. So all of these answers are correct. All the above. Right? So movement that occurs due to influence of growth substances, roots, apex growing towards the light, growing fruits and flowers, all of these things are going to influence, right, on the growth substances. The pulvinus of leaflet and petiole helps in. It's very simple, my dear children. The pulvinus helps in nastic movements. We discussed about this thing. The pulvinus, it contains special kind of a, right, cell which is referred as the parenchyma cells. So these parenchyma cells has the ability to detect turgor changes, right? So therefore, parenchyma cells contained within the pulvinus helps in nastic movements. Nastic movements. Next one. Organism that shows tactic movement. Organism that shows tactic movement. So tactical movement, within a tactical movement, you know that microorganism, the entire organism is going to move from one place to another. Entire organism is going to move from one place to another during a tactic movement. So these tactic movements are shown by, right, chlamydomonas. Chlamydomonas. Chlamydomonas is the organism that shows the tactic movements. Tactic movements. Next one. The whole organism responds to the stimulus inner. Once again, simple, my dear children. When I was discussing about this previous question, I told you that the whole organism is going to respond to the stimulus in a tactic movement. In a tactic movement. Next one. Conservation of an organism in its living environment. Once again, it's very simple. It is referred as the in situ conservation. In situ conservation. In ex situ conservation, the opposite thing is going to happen. Organism or the particular thing is going to take to a different environment, and in that environment, that particular organism is getting conserved. That is ex situ conservation. But in situ conservation, within the own habitat, the particular organism is being saved. Okay. Then the next one. An indigenous plant. Now, indigenous plant means it should be a native plant. So, Vitex, satinwood and ebony, all of these things are indigenous plants. We discussed that thing when we are discussing about the in situ conservation unit. Okay. Right then. The next one. Animal that does not have special appendages for locomotion. Animal that does not have any special appendages for locomotion. Python doesn't have any special appendages. Worm, once again the same. Snail, once again the same. So all of these organisms do not have any appendages for locomotion. Next one. A cellular organelle. A wonderful question, my dear children. A cellular organelle. Okay. So I hope that when I'm discussing these questions, you would follow up these things and you would write down the correct answer and you will check what is the correct one. So this is a good question. A cellular organelle. Legs, limbs, cilia, all the above. What is the answer? Let me rephrase about cellular organelle. When I was discussing about the organelles part, I have explained this thing within the first chapter. So once again, let me explain what do you mean by a cellular organelle. You know that each and every body of organism is made up with cells. Within the cells, we can observe different kinds of structures. Okay. Within the cells, we can observe different kinds of structures. So these structures help in different activities that is going to occur within the cell. For example, you know that cells need oxygen in order to provide their energy. So cellular respiration should be a compulsory factor in order to keep a cell healthy. So to do that particular activity, there is a special structure within the cell called as mitochondria. Okay. For the cellular respiration, mitochondria is going to help. Mitochondria is the special structure that performs the cellular respiration. These structures which contained within the cells are called as organelles. So these things can be observed only within a cell, only within one particular cell, only within one cell, okay? So here you have to select the organelle. That means these things should contain within one particular cell. Legs, even we can see it from our naked eye. So we can't take legs. Legs are not located within a cell, no. It is located within our body. Our body is composed of millions of cells. So it is incorrect. Limbs, once again incorrect, right? Cilia, that should be the answer, cilia. Cilia is contained within the cell of paramecium. Cilia. So my dear children, within the cell body of paramecium, we can observe the cellular structures or organelles, cilia. Cilia is the correct answer then. Next question. Locomotion is important for organism because it helps to get nutrition needed. Absolutely correct. Because my dear children, you know that if we get hungry, let's imagine that you are alone at the home, you have some money, you feel hungry, then you walk to a shop beside your home or to a particular place or to a bakery or whatever, you take some amount of food and you eat. So the necessity of the nutrition or the satisfaction of nutrition is fulfilled through the locomotion process. If you can't locomote from one place to another, if let's imagine that you don't have legs. We don't have legs. If we don't have legs, then we won't be able to move from one place to another. Then in that case, my dear children, a different person or else a different person or else your adults or our adults should come and they should feed us. However, if you have legs, you can locomote to a certain place and you can fulfill your nutritional requirement. So my dear children, for the nutritional requirement in each and every animal, especially in animals, right? You know that animals are heterotrophic organisms. So we depend on the food produced by the other ones, especially autotrophic organisms like plants. So we have to find our food. We have to find our nutrition. So to find our nutrition, my dear children, our legs or limbs are very important. Our appendages are very important. So these appendages are giving us a chance to provide us the nutrition that we want. So my dear children, locomotion is very important to provide the nutrition which is needed for the animal. Next one. Helps to protect from predators. No problem at all. It is correct. If you take animal like a rabbit, if you take an animal like a ox or else a cow, a deer, these animals are being protected by their predators because of the locomotion, right? If they can't move from one place to another, then predators like lions, they would come and capture these animals without any trouble. So having these legs and other appendages, ability of locomotion helps to stay away from those predators and to protect the organism from predators. So it is correct, no problem. Next one, helps to locate new habitats. Once again correct, right? Once again correct. It helps to find out new habitats. Let's imagine that a certain environment is going to destroy because of a certain natural disaster. In that case, the animals should have to move and they have to find out another different favorable habitat. In order to find out a favorable habitat, my dear children, legs and the other appendages are very helpful because we have to locomote. So all of these answers are correct. All of these things are important, or all of these things are important factors of locomotion. So if a person can, or else if an organism can locomote, it helps to get nutrition needed, it helps to protect from predators, and it also helps to locate new habitats. Okay. Next one. Select the correct option. So you have to select the correct option. It's very simple, my dear children. So an arm is given. This one, which is in front of the arm, the X, muscle X, that's the bicep muscle. Below your arm, you can observe at Y, the tricep muscle. So you have to select the correct option here. X is going to show the bicep muscle. X is showing bicep muscle and the Y is showing tricep muscles. So the correct answer would be first and foremost one. X is the bicep muscle over here and Y is the tricep muscle over here. Right? So X is the bicep muscle and Y is the tricep muscle. Right, my dear children? So with that thing, we have finished all the MCQ parts related to the extra exercises. Within our next chapter, my dear children, we'll be focusing about different other types of questions. Right? Especially we are focusing about essay type questions within our next chapter. So stay till the end of the next chapter as well. We'll be discussing about several essay type questions within our next chapter. Right? So I'm going to wind up this chapter and I'm going to meet you with our next chapter to discuss about essay type questions.
To watch these important lessons, subscribe to DP Education's YouTube channel right now. Click on the bell icon to stay updated on the latest lessons. Sri Lanka's largest free online school, DP Education.